Welcome back to our penultimate and almost sort of end of the season. We're getting right down to it of hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. Bridget Crinerson, both back in studio this week. You both took a bit of time off last week, I guess, during some of the school holidays. And Bridget, you were traveling a bit, so great to have you both back in studio.
Good to be back. Yeah, it was 3-term school holidays, so took a bit of time off, and but still lots of hockey on the go. I don't think.
Yeah, there is. I mean, we certainly sort of, coming down to the end of the season. So I think as we sort of get to results from around the country, Bridget, certainly you and the production team a little bit less busy than you've been for most of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely wrapping up winter season. You can feel the shift and the summer codes, slowly coming in along with the weather. So.
Absolutely.
There was kind of the penultimate last weekend, but last big weekend this weekend of hockey and rugby across the country.
Absolutely, and I mean we'll be chatting about Friday Night Lights hockey this week, coming from obviously Bish and Bosch later in the week, sort of wrapping up the year for us. But on the whole, it's been a wonderful year of hockey again from a South African schools perspective, and I guess from a sort of Southern African perspective now. After our recent series here with the Zimbabwean schools that was so well received.
Yeah, I think, and Calvin, I think being involved with SuperSport schools and doing the show has actually made me realize how much hockey is played around the country.
Absolutely.
I think that, when you're in your province and kind of getting on with things, you don't realize how much the game is growing in the wider South African community and Southern Africa, outside of South Africa as well, which I think is fantastic for hockey, and certainly testament to what schools and clubs and have done to grow the game.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about that growth of the game. I mean, Bridge, we've also been hearing a few things. There's talk of schools expanding into indoor and even an indoor IPT coming. So I'm not sure if we, I think it's out there. It's coming, and it looks like it's a certainty for next year.
I've chatted to Wayne Marsden, and he mentioned it, that the SASHOC, Federation have made a decision that indoor is going to be something that they're going to look at from a provincial level, make interprovincial tournaments for indoor, which is really exciting because it's always sort of skated around, and certain provinces have been dominant, but now they're wanting to expand that whole program and allow for the growth of it.
And that together with fives, really, Chris, what you're talking about is almost taking hockey into almost a sort of 10 to 12 month of the year operation.
No, and I think it's it's certainly showing in if I look at some of our top players who are making it on the international front, guys like Mustafa and Dayan, they've played all formats of the game. Absolutely. And you end up playing for 10 to 12 months of the year. There's no sort of off season, and I think that the games all complement each other. If you look at the indoor and the skill that comes from playing indoor, fast-paced games. Same with fives. One-on-one defense, one-on-one attack. Learning how to eliminate players, and then taking that into the full game. Certainly makes people all-round players, which I think is what we're looking for in our national setup.
Absolutely. And on the subject of fives, one of our sort of favourite tournaments of the year, Kersney hold a wonderful fives tournament that's just taken place in Durban this last weekend. Bridget, do you have a good closer eye there on what happened in the girls'
I did.
event?
I watched it, with excitement. Obviously, St Mary's Kloof doing really well, clinching the win in the end. So they were
always keeps you happy.
Or victors, along with DHS. But it's a tournament that's evolved quite extensively, and I think it's one that everyone looks forward to. The combination of a co-ed tournament. In the end of the season, it allows for a bit more stayers. So they bring up a lot more players from the younger age group. So the schools kind of use it as a nice trial out for next year. And then fives around the country now kicks off quite heavily as everyone goes into mid-year exams and all of that. And it's kind of just the peter off of the season, but it's a fun time to play hockey.
Great, nice way to finish it. And I mean, it brings out the best in some players. I mean, we saw in the boys' final, probably no surprise there, given the way that they play hockey.
Yes, I mean, I always knew DHS would come out, fighting in fives. They have wonderful individuals. They love going forward. They love scoring goals. So
Shoot from anywhere.
Yeah, fives really suits them. But
except that my class, I mean, it went to a 3-3.
3-3
Yeah, 3-3.
Testament to the work that Nick
yeah.
Berishon is doing at my class there. I think for them to play in that final, fantastic achievement. Take DHS to 3-3 there. I think quite a similar result to what they played to in the season.
I think there might have been. There was definitely a 3-3 draw between my class and Northwood. I can't actually remember now. It's been too much hockey. But anyway, just another wonderful, hockey fives. I mean, I think it's certainly got its place in our hockey calendar. And Kersney put on a wonderful event. And congratulations to St Mary's and DHS for taking the wins there. Maristella and my class doing really well to get to the finals. Epworth were in the mix. They've just been another season that we've seen improve. So just wonderful for them.
Interestingly, Calvin, I mean, I know that the Youth Olympics has hockey fives as the hockey tournament, and I know that at one stage there was talk about hockey fives becoming the Olympic
absolutely
version, because it's so fast-paced.
It's just been struggling on that and saying, it wouldn't be great for hockey.
No, but
I mean, it might be an Olympic solution in the future.
Five certainly has its place.
Absolutely. No, look, it's fun and it's,
There's a World Cup for fives. I mean, South Africa's attended that, and we've always done fairly well. But it's one of those not dissimilar to the indoor program. You're getting dominant countries, and new countries coming in. Whereas the game of 11 aside, the traditional. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Anyway, lots of fun. Head down there in KZN. Going back, there were a couple of derbies around the country. It seems like most of the hockey this last weekend was sort of taking place in the Eastern Cape. They seem to still be playing a lot deeper than anyone else.
And Eastern Cape and Western Cape.
Western Cape, yeah.
One of the fixtures that we were sort of looking forward to going into was Jason Slater's York boys were taking on Outeniqua. Jason, as we said, I think repeatedly, York continue to do really well, but taking on that Outeniqua. It's interesting for me to see that York team, only one matric in that team, so really a young team, and Jason will be looking forward to next year in terms of what he can deliver. But the result went the way of Outeniqua, 2-1. So, good win in a big derby in that part of the world.
That derby is always hotly contested, but I think what's important there for Jason is that even in a year with a young team, I think they've been a bit inconsistent. I watched them play at independent schools and they had some really good performances, and then you could see they struggled with a bit of consistency. But to stay in touch, we know that Jason's an experienced coach, and York are always going to be competitive. So looking forward to what they're going to produce next year.
And I think challenging being a smaller school, your depth, it's one of those. So to the point, you've got one matric as a senior player, and now you're building up into the next phase.
And in a sort of derby that wasn't that close, Sax versus Bishops, the Sax team just keep rolling on. 9-0 against Bishops. Bishops have to be disappointed. I mean, they're too good a hockey outfit to be losing 9-0, even to Sax.
Yeah.
Calvin, watching that Sax team play, I think that, you can have a really good defensive plan. You can have a really good setup against Sax. The problem there is the individuals and their set pieces. The individuals there. Guys like Lita, Reese Tiernis, Maseko in midfield. They can.
Rio at the short,
Yeah, I mean,
there's too many people who can score goals.
They're just eliminating 2-3 players at a time, and that's difficult to play against. And Bishops have had a tough season, and I think they've, defensively they've struggled, and there's always going to be an uphill battle against Sax.
And sort of back to the Eastern Cape, Queen's College 2, Dale 0, one of the big derbies of the year, probably one that we would have expected from a result perspective.
I think what I really enjoy about seeing Queen's and Dale on the up is that those are two traditional hockey schools, that have a proud history in hockey. Some national players came out of those schools, and to see that hockey is on the up and they performing. Queen's have had a good season. Dale in touching distance, so that's good for the Eastern Cape.
And they also, those two schools play in the Nomads, the Founders, and things like that. So they definitely continue their program in their traditional space. So it's nice to see.
Another program that's had a good year and finished off really strongly, Hudson Park Girls, 6-0 over Cambridge High School.
Yeah,
finishing off the season, but they've had another good result there for them to finish the year.
We've spoken about Cambridge before as a school that's putting a lot of emphasis in their hockey program, and They really are, but they're a much smaller school. Hudson Park have had some really talented hockey players over the years. So,
absolutely.
Also a good program coming through from
And sort of finishing off, we're not doing all the results, but another big derby in the Boerland, Charlie Hofmeyer versus Robertson.
Yeah.
It's a massive derby there that finishes the year on probably certainly one of the prettier AstroTurfs in the country there at Charlie Hofmeyer. The Charlie Hofmeyer boys getting up for the win. They'll be very pleased because the rugby boys went down to Robertson. Last year, Charlie Hofmeyer had an outstanding rugby year, unbeaten in the Boerland. So they lost this year to Robertson. So Robertson will be very pleased to roll them over in the rugby. But hockey, Charlie Hofmeyer triumphing.
And it was a challenging night for both hockey outfits on the girls and the boys side because it just didn't stop raining. So the pitch was very wet.
It was extraordinary.
So
they even played the game.
I know.
It's just only those kids in the Boerland,
you could
playing
see.
those. Everyone else would have been, thanks very much.
A lot of aerial ball being played in the wet patches. But it was a fun match to watch on both sides.
And the girls' result obviously finished 2-2. So the sort of honours shared in that game. So Bridget, this weekend, Hyundai Friday Night Lights, 29th of August, the last Hyundai Friday Night Lights of the season?
Yes, we're going across to Bish Bosh, a big Western Cape derby. So we'll be out of Bishops, where we see Bishops taking on Rondebosch. There's also Sax versus Wynberg. That is also one of the traditional Western Cape derbies. But we'll be at Bish Bosh on Friday
really
night.
Where we're finishing up the year from a hockey perspective. And it's certainly been a wonderful season. We're going to talk more about it as we go later in the show and talk about some of our Hockey on 216 awards. But as we go out into the break, we recently spoke to Gemma Bauer from Collegiate and Cora Knott from Clarendon after their final game of the season down in the Eastern Cape, just to get their thoughts on that final game and the season they had. So we'll be back once we've had a word with the girls from the Eastern Cape and Avile, our wonderful hockey writer who was down there at the game with them last week.
And welcome, folks, live from the Clarendon High School for Girls AstroTurf, where we've just concluded the Hyundai Night Friday Lights clash here in East London between Clarendon High School for Girls and Collegiate Girls High. And with the two captains now, Kara and Gemma from Collegiate. Obviously, Collegiate running away with this one 5-0. I'm going to start with you, Gemma. Brilliant game. Just what do you think you guys did so well to win that one?
I think coming back from top 12, it was quite difficult, and we really struggled in the beginning to score goals. So coming into this game, we really wanted to start the game on a high, just goals, and I think we did that, and we worked together as a team. So I'm really proud of the team we got.
Obviously, with you, Kari, I'm sure you're not happy with the result today, but you must be so proud of the season that you guys had. You had some great wins before today. You hadn't lost a game, so you must be proud of the season.
Yeah, we've had a great season. Just unfortunate result for our last game, especially for us from our team. But Collegiate have had a great season, and we knew that before coming into this game. But it's a pity we couldn't even get a goal. But we're just happy with how we've come, and we'll be happy with the game so far this season. And happy to have finished on a high.
And Gemma, quickly on your season, I spoke to you during the week. You mentioned winning all girls, going to Super 12 was a highlight. I'm sure it must be so nice to end your career like this.
Yes, definitely. Last year we really struggled because we were a super young team. So this year we really focused on gaining those connections and those bonds, and it really did form this year. They're such a special bunch, and just at the beginning of the year we wanted a special season, and that's exactly what we did. Winning all goals was so amazing. Peter Renish first in the country, and then achieving top 12. It was really amazing, and I couldn't ask for a better team to finish the school year.
Kari, you on your way out now, as you mentioned, but what can spectators expect from Clarendon moving on with the talent that's staying behind? I know almost your bulk of the team is staying behind. What can we expect next year?
I think they're definitely going to keep improving. We started bringing grade 9s. We didn't have grade 9s before, but now we're bringing up. And I think they're just going to do better and better with this. We've started to train now straight after this. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them grow, because I think we're going to have a strong team in the future.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gents. Gemma Bauer and Kara Knott from Clarendon High School for Girls. And this final game of the season here in East London. Back to you guys in studio.
Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai. Bridget, Moodles, as we get to the end of the year, one of the things we've been talking about doing is doing the Hockey on 216 awards, and we've looked at a whole host of categories. Next week's show, we're going to be announcing those winners and some really wonderful prizes for those winners. And, watch the social and digital media around SuperSport schools this week, because you'll be seeing some of that being spoken about at Just What's to date. So,
and comment on those socials.
Absolutely,
as well.
We'd love
give your
to see
opinions.
people's comments. I mean, just so that everyone's clear at home, we've really gone and said, look, these are the categories we've chosen, and we'll take everyone through them shortly. We've given 3 nominees per category that we're going to give as our final decision next week on those winners, and it's really
not
amongst
easy.
the crew of Hockey on 216. No, I mean, look, some things have been very easy, because there are the odd standout players, the odd standout things that we go, well, that's a definite, but largely it's been very, very difficult. But it's really our opinion on what we've seen and what we've liked through the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always difficult making selections, but I think it's so exciting, Calvin, that we can actually get to the point where, thanks to the SuperSport Schools platform, that you can almost watch every game in the season. I mean, a couple of years ago, there's no ways you could do something like this. So the fact that, we can get to this point at the end of the season and kind of put the cherry on the top of what's been, I think, really good to showcase hockey over, this season, give it a little bit extra for people to look forward to on a Wednesday evening. And while, we don't get to cover absolutely everything, it's nice to highlight what's happening. And I think these awards are testament to those players and communities that have stood out.
And I think importantly, as you're chatting about that, is we've gone through the entire year, things that stood out for us. It wasn't just a performance at IPT or just a particular performance. We've taken it all into account, and as the sort of team on Hockey on 216, we've got this. So if you guys are ready, we're gonna delve into it. You two are the specialists here. So when it gets to the highly debatable points, or the ones where we had to make a vote, we'll chat a little bit about why we made that decision, to give people at home a little bit of context.
Yeah. Just, reiterating, jump on your socials and chat to us about them, because there are going to be some ones that you're going to agree with and disagree with. So
absolutely,
it's nice to get people's opinion.
I think also importantly, what we've had to look at, Calvin, and we've spoken about it in the shows over the season, is that not everybody's playing in a school that's dominating.
Absolutely.
Not they have different contexts to the way they're playing. So everybody's loyal to their school or to their province, but there's different contexts for all these awards.
Absolutely.
A goalkeeper might be playing, in a team that's really hasn't done particularly well this year, but the keeper's kept them.
Well,
you're jumping into what? Yeah, funny you say that.
I mean, let's take that into the goalkeepers, and we'll start with the goalkeeper of the year for boys. Probably a very good example of exactly that in Khotsa Mabono, who came out of St. David's.
Yes.
Not really a team that's had an outstanding season, but I think when he did get the opportunity at IPT for Southerns, he showed what he was made of, and into that SA Schools team. So he was a very interesting or easy selection for us as one of those, as a good example.
And I mean, Khotsa's had an incredible season in goals, and I suppose, people will look at results and go, how can he? But if you watched him play, I mean, technically, he's really good. He's got a bright future ahead of him as a goalkeeper. And I think that, he kept St. David's competitive this season.
Absolutely. So, and alongside him, probably a similar player who also kept his team competitive in Owen McNenham.
He's had an impeccable season. If you think about his general keeping, it's been phenomenal. It's not necessarily team-based, to your point.
Yes.
It's the fact that he himself has performed particularly well.
You know what I appreciate about goalkeepers, it becomes a sort of way of life that you operate as a keeper, and I think that Owen is a wonderful example of that. He's invested all his time in perfecting his craft around goalkeeping. He's very good on the set pieces, and again, if you want to do well in tournaments and you want to have a good goalkeeper and have a good drag flicker, and you'll be competitive.
Difference,
And I think he's done that for Pretoria Boys this year.
So those were quite too easy for us to pick. I think in the end, the third nominee for our goalkeeper of the year really came down to two players: Bhavesh Naika from DHS, who's really impressed us this year, and Kano Broadhurst, who's probably had two really good years. He was really good last year as well, down at Grey High in PE. Where did we go, Crinison?
Yeah, I think we went with Kano as the Grey High School keeper. I watched him at Hibbert Shield. And also quality, kept Grey in the hunt in a number of games, and had a very good tournament for EP as well. So I would go with Kano as our third nominee.
In the boys, we've gone Mabona, McNennan, and Broadhurst as our three nominees for goalkeeper of the year. Moving quite quickly into the girls' side, Bridget. There were a couple of easy decisions there to be made, a couple not so easy. So. Talk us through our girl nominees for the year.
Well, the first one we got is Rebecca Haswell, who has had a phenomenal season. I mean, she played an impeccable IPT for EP. She's just been a leader in the defensive space. She was really, really skillful. She protects her goals. She moves well in the box. So, someone that I think has a bright future. I think that she can learn a lot. She's a very capable goalkeeper and also a very capable leader in that space.
Absolutely.
So that first line of attack is defence concept, and I think she ticks that box quite clearly.
And then alongside another keeper that you've been watching all year, and we've watched, she's only under 16, so she's young, Zianda Mtunu. From KZN, St. Mary's girl as well. So also really impressed us this year.
Yeah, if you think about her season starting at St. Mary's Waverley Festival, she was very good. Yes, in all the shootouts, she is understated. She moves well. She really, really commands her own defence and is clinical in her PC defence.
Yes.
Her communication, the way she looks after the defense. I just think she's a player that is not too big, but she does it well.
Yeah. I mean, I think from a goalkeeping perspective, and Zianda is a proponent of this, is that you want to be making the first save well. You want to stay mobile and you want to, have good reactions.
Yes.
And work off a good technical base, stay on your feet for as long as possible. And I think that, it's so wonderful that we can find 5-6 goalkeepers across the girls and boys that we are absolutely excited about.
You talk about those numbers. I mean, we had to now get into quite a tight situation for that third nominee spot. And Annika Kloppers, Peyton Murray, both really impressed us this year.
Incredible.
But in the end, Bridget, we went with a bit of an outsider. Because hockey on 216 is a little bit more than just South African schools hockey.
Yeah, I think we found a keeper that we don't have much knowledge of, and that of Whiteman. And she just, she's comes from Zim. She's a Falcon College girl. She played an incredible tournament.
I mean, she was just incredible for that Zimbabwean under 18 side against the South Africans last week. And, for us, she just did enough to, in the end, squeeze in that position because she just really was outstanding.
She really, she saved her team. She was very, very, very
So it's Haswell and Kunu and Whiteman that make up the girls' nominees for goalkeeper of the year. On Hockey on 216 awards. Defenders, a little bit easier for us. Certainly the first two choices were, I think we all both, when we wrote down our nominations, the first two we both, all of us, 4, 5, 6 of us on the Hockey on 216 panel, pretty much all wrote down the same two names, Crimson.
Yeah, I think so. Those guys who know me from coaching and that type of thing, I love centre backs. I think that they are the chiefs in the team. They command, they sort of control the tempo of the game largely. And I think it was from a boys' perspective, the first two were pretty easy choices. Ethan Kapanda from Jeppe, also the captain. Jeppe, outstanding season, unbeaten, and I think he was key to that.
And the second name?
Josh LaRue.
So no surprises
Sachs.
there.
Also,
Ethan and Josh were really easy, I think, for us in terms of that. That third nominee, there were a number of people that
This was
impressed us
debatable.
through the year. Jandre van Zyl, the youngster from Paul Roos Gymnasium, Logan Lakay, Mateusz Stipovic, all players that we were impressed. But in the end, there was one player who really felt wasn't, had an interesting season all the way, had a great IPT.
Yeah, and when we consider that Northern's finished third at IPT,
and he was really good.
He's a flicker. Gasfontein have had a really good season, so Lucan Burnett for me has to be up there as a centre back. Yeah.
So it's Kopanda, Leroux, and Brunette are the boys' defenders of the year nominees. And just moving lastly into the girls, Bridget, a little bit also a difficult one. Lots of really interesting players from around the country. A lot of the good defenders around the country, actually quite young though, under 17 and under 16 players.
Yeah, I mean, if we speak about a lot of these players, they've all got another shot at it next year. But there's some that really stood out. We talk about the untraditional schools that we've mentioned, but Wynberg girls for me, phenomenal season. And Gian Abraham's my first nominee in that space. She's had a really good season. She's actually been selected for the S Under 21 camp to prepare for World Cup, which is really lovely call up for her. And she just is a solid defender. Understated, does the basics well.
So she's our first nominee in that space.
Second one is I really like this player. I think she sadly is going to leave and probably play overseas. But Pik Bakker, who plays out of Greenwich, she's one of those defenders. When you talk about a traditional centre back, she's that for me. She distributes well. She really has a good spatial awareness. She understands the game.
Cool, calm and collected.
Very cool, calm and collected. Her defensive ability, her body position and defence. She's really knows the game. So that's nominee number 2.
And obviously going into 3, there were a lot of, as we said, a lot of the sort of younger players that impressed us. Gemma Ferreira was very impressive for the under 17 side. So was Ella Bauer, just such a brave defender. Catherine Sickle from Rennes, also really impressive. Catherine's performance probably in 2 areas for us this year.
Yeah. So
her top 12 tournament at Oranje, she really stood out at that tournament.
And nationals.
And nationals, so really stood out. And so for us, that third in the end, Catherine Sickle.
Yeah, her overlap ability from an outside defensive place just put her into nomination number 3. I mean, she carries the ball particularly well. So Catherine Sickle taking number 3.
So it's Abrahams, Bakker and Sickle are the 3 Defender of the Year nominees in the girls for the Hockey on 216 awards. We'll be back after the break talking midfielders, strikers and a few of those other awards that we're looking forward to. Welcome back to Hockey on 216, where we're busy talking about our nominees for the Hockey on 216 awards this year. As we said, these are really the group of us that present Hockey on 216, where we've put down our favourites for the year and the things that we like to see. And on that note, I mean, we're going to be talking about midfielders and forwards. There are a lot of players that play in both positions. Sometimes at school, they might be a forward in a provincial team. You might see them turning out in the midfield or vice versa. So, Kristen, we have gone with a bit of, we'd like to see them play. I know there's a couple of players where you've gone, well, I'm wanting there because that's where I'd like to see them.
Yes. I mean, I think, particularly depending on what system you play, you can play someone as an attacking midfielder or a more sort of defensively mindset forward, but I think that, again, I think I've said it before, we've got such a wealth of talent across these teams that to get down to a couple of nominees is very difficult.
And the midfield ones are obviously the difficult ones to talk about because often you see in a lot of the teams the really good players, the talented players from young. This tends to be where we see them being played. So and maybe on that note, let's move in because I think again some of these are very easy. Then there's a few that last position in the 3 was always often the hardest one to fill. Whereas the first one, sometimes those names write themselves down. Midfielder of the year for boys.
Yeah,
First
up, pretty easy choice. Again, not sure where his best position is, but he could play anywhere. Lita Cry from Sachs. I mean, I think he's just, he was the player of the tournament at the under-18 nationals. He's in the SA under-21 side and just really commands the field when he plays.
Just a phenomenal talent and difficult to
So I actually heard someone refer to him as a cussy games kind of player because he's so like cool, you know, like cussy games is fun. They lift the ball.
Yeah.
He's that kind of player.
He's just got some skills and some abilities
So
that
much talent.
are just extraordinary. So Itakra out of Saxa, a relatively easy choice. The second choice in the midfield, probably also not too hard a player who's had a wonderful school career.
Yeah, Christo Swanepoel from Paul Roos. Incredible player. You know, the amount of work he gets through in a game, you know, particularly look at those the Sax Paul Roos derbies that he played. He's just got an engine of note. I think that's what you want from a centre mid. He goes, he's a leader. He's played 100 games for Paul Roos. I mean, what more could you want from a centre mid captain leader?
And a team that ended up doing really well this year, and I think 11 or 12 of those boys that he was playing with are all back next year. So that leadership role that he played, that senior, he really was the senior player.
Yes.
And had a lot of work to do, and you know, also had a good IPT with Boland, but I think we sort of doing more about his performances for Paul Roos that get him in here.
I think he's worthy nominee.
The last position, as we say, starts to get interesting to look at.
Yes.
You know, and we had a couple of names that you know were on our radar in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, we had Reagan Mudau, Aidan Hughes, Sean Martin, number of names on that list, but in the end, we decided to go with Mahleodi Maseko from Sax, another very good outside midfielder. Again, the other two guys are centre mids.
Yeah.
You know, an outside midfielder who can really tear it up going forward, and also gets through a lot of work in a game.
And I mean, yeah, as you say, one of those difficult things when you take a player like Aidan Hughes, also part of that Sax team. I mean, they really just had so much quality this year, didn't they? But you know, we had to sort of make a choice on that. Outside off, we needed someone here who just brought something a little bit different to that midfield role, as opposed to sort of that distributor role, but a little bit more, carried the ball a bit more, carried it really well.
I mean, I watched him play a couple of times at left midfield, and I think it's a difficult position to grasp, playing left midfielder. Look, he is playing in a team that goes forward a lot, but you know, his technical ability and his ability to go forward is really what attracted me there.
Absolutely. So in the end, we went with Mahleodi Maseko. So those midfielders of the Elite Cry, Christo Swanepoel and Mahleodi Maseko for the boys. And that left, again,
the girls.
To the girls, which
also challenging.
Similar, but challenging, because again, really a lot of the seriously talented hockey players running around the country at the moment are playing in those positions. Bridge.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's some seriously good midfielders out there that can double up also in that forward line. So same troubles I had.
And so where did you
go?
With
here
them?
I went.
How did we go? Well, first up, quite easy.
Yeah, my first one, I think this is a serious talent, Abigail Holderness. She commands the field. She had an impeccable season, also being called up to the under-21 squad. And just someone to watch for the future, serious talent. So
I mean, just a great season and a great career at DSG.
Yeah.
For most of IPT, we thought she was going to take those EP girls all the way.
Yeah.
And came very close and finished it well. But as you say, just probably an easiest choice for us.
Yeah, it was one that came to mind quickly. Second nominee, I think she is a serious talent. She is young, Pippa Viljoen.
So back next year.
Back next year. She is someone that plays hockey like a Dutch player in my mind. She plays very, very carry forward, midfield, eliminate, distribute hockey. She breaks the seam.
I was just so impressed with her, how easy she is on the ball. She's one of those people you love to see the ball on their stick, because they are it's like a thing of beauty to watch her move.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you say, that sort of Dutch, just that ability. She almost looks like she's floating across
she just moves so well.
The AstroTurf just moves so beautifully. And she did really well in that under-17 side, and no doubt we'll see more of her.
Definitely.
Malaysia. And the good thing is we're going to see more of her next year.
Yep, exciting to watch. And then this was a tricky one. There were a few contenders for me. You know, Swanepoel had a great season.
This is Swanepoel out of Gim.
Out of Gim, so Ane Swanepoel. And then you've also got Sarah Ellen Groeneveld, who also had a phenomenal season. Really, really talented. Bianca Rees-Gibbs, also great season. Frankie Hennon. All of those midfielders, I mean, I could go on forever. But eventually the one that I ended on was, Divanar from Polcham, the captain.
Absolutely.
I just think she had a really great season. She's a good carrier in the midfield. She commanded the field. She captains well. So she sort of outplayed everyone just on that leadership.
Part of that Boland team that won, the Chim team that won the top 12, everything they needed to, they really were. And she was
good.
Key in all of that. So
she was a very good,
probably not too difficult, those 3 players for us in the end, although, as you say, a lot of players that were sticking up their hands. So Holderness, Viljoen and Divanar are our 3 nominees for midfielder of the year amongst the girls. The sort of more exciting, the sexy stuff, the forward of the year. So an interesting one for us. A couple of players here that could easily be midfielders, sometimes were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, again, when you're thinking of these guys playing at the next level, and perhaps in their school teams, they've perhaps had to play a little bit more in midfield than the out-and-out strikers. In a smaller school, you probably have your best player playing a line back. But for me, the first one, and I think I've enjoyed this boy all season, Reece Tennis.
Absolutely.
Just a natural goal scorer. He's not wasteful in front of goal. Gets an opportunity, puts it away. Second up there, and helped his school to an outstanding season is Joe Gitlin.
Absolutely.
If I'm sure it's been clipped, but there's that one goal of his at Saints Fest.
Yes.
It's probably just one of the
probably
best.
The thing that got him in here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because that's when we first saw him, and since then we've just watched closely, and he hasn't done anything to take him off the list.
Absolutely.
No, he's an exceptional player. And then third for me, we spoke about Aidan Blatch, Luke Boyle, but for me, a boy who has helped Parktown this season. They've been competitive. They've had the ability to score goals. Is Ziad Davids, the Parktown captain. Again, some might argue that he should be playing in midfield, but so exciting going forward. Absolutely. And, I think he's a quality player.
And what was really nice, from a smaller of the hockey programs right now, perhaps not competing at the top level, but certainly when he got to IPT, he just showed what he had. And he stepped up and he just said, hang on,
Yeah,
so
he definitely
a pretty
raised his
easy one
hands.
for us. So Tennis, Gitlin and Davids for forward of the year. Moving into the girls. Again there, a couple of easy decisions.
Yeah.
Some not so easy.
Yeah, first one, Leah Duplessis. She just has stamped authority down. She's dynamite. She's exciting to watch. She's a really good player. So that one was simple.
She's the third of the schoolgirls that's in the under 21 camp now, Brit.
Yeah, there she is. So it's nice to see her getting recognised into that senior space. So it's exciting to see what she's got going ahead for her. And then nominee number 2, she actually got top goal scorer at Nationals, Charlie Rose Boyle. So
that's in the under 16
Under
section,
16. She is a youngster, but she's one of those players that if you put her in the circle, she's always going to try score. And that's what you want from a striker line. Someone that's really scary to defend, and you just always have to watch out. And she is one of those players. She will always try.
Had a fine season for her school as well, and really they
Fatima,
were
the school did
far more
exceptionally well this year.
Far more competitive, and a lot of it's to do with the fact that when they needed her, she scored goals.
Yep,
so
definitely.
Young, but we've gone with her.
Yeah, and then my third one, it was a tough one. You've got Isabel Visser from Bloemhof, who also had a great season. You've got Jamie De Silva from St. Mary's Kloof, also a phenomenal season, great strike of the ball. But it got outplayed by Elanda Rademacher because of what she did at top 12. Yes. She has got BMT. And for me, a BMT player is a forward. Yeah. If they can score in crucial times, then they sort of seal that deal.
But we saw all through the year, there are some games when sort of strikers disappear, but largely we saw her play some really amazing games. The goals against Pole Girls and the Pole Derby were just outstanding. And then, as you say, really a strong finish, top goal scorer at the top 12 tournament, him winning that tournament. Also another young player, so back for 2 more years. So the good news is, in Boyle and Rademacher, 2 of our forwards of the year, have another 2 years of hockey left. So
exciting.
Duplessis, Boyle and Rademacher closing out our selections for forwards of the year.
Yes.
And as you say, a couple of close contenders there in Visser and De Silva. But those will be ours. Maybe just quickly going in, I think these were relatively easy. Our Player of the Year nominees.
Yeah, I think for the boys, Lita has to be the first name that you put down there.
Absolutely.
Second nomination there, Josh Leroux. Sacks have been incredible this year.
And he's just been outstanding his whole career.
And then, Ethan Kapanda coming in third there, JP captain, unbeaten season. Very good for Southerns. So, for me, this was one of the easier ones to get through.
Yeah, so Cry, Leroux and Kapanda, our boys' nominees for Player of the Year. Bridget and the girls.
A little bit harder, I think, but I've sort of gone with players that have really stood out for their teams, but then not as individuals, but also from a team perspective. So first one, Abigail Holderness. She really had a phenomenal season. Leah Duplessis, nominee number 2 for me. And then in this one, Divanar from Polcham taking nominee number 3. I did have Abrahams and Fillion also as contenders into that because they really have also had great seasons and have had a superb individual and team performance.
So in that the final category in this segment, Player of the Year for girls, Holderness, Duplessis and Divanar. We'll be back after the break with the last of our nominees in the Hockey on 216 Awards. Welcome back to Hockey on 216, proudly driven by Hyundai, as we go through the final of the Hockey on 216 Awards nominees, which we will be giving the winners next week on next week's show, our final show in the first week of September. But going into our last couple of awards, we decided to go with a young boys and a young girls Player of the Year. So the category there, basically under 16, so grade 10, playing first team hockey is what the choices were. And from a boys' side, a year that we've discussed has got an incredible amount of talent.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that national under 16 team playing. Again, talented group. So difficult choice to get to the 3 nominees. But first up, we went with the captain of that national under 16 team and Paul Russ, centre back, Jean-Ray van Zyl.
Yep.
Incredibly mature player for his age.
Yeah.
To think that he's still got 2 years left is
He's
crazy.
going to be one to watch.
Another boy who for me has been good all season in a team that's really struggled is Callum Anderson from Bishops. Again, just commands the midfield. Very good on the ball, and I think he's a worthy nominee there.
The one thing that he really showed in that international series last week, as you said, on the ball, he just was the one player where he was just in control of the ball.
Yep.
Where a lot of them were losing, they were really struggling, with that Kookaburra ball, and his
his
control
first
of the ball
touches.
was just so good. His first touches were
I mean,
really class.
you want a midfielder or a blocker to be comfortable on the ball, comfortable receiving and going forward, receiving under pressure. So really, really good player. I'm excited for what lies ahead there. And then, there were a couple of names that we looked at. Jamie Koch from Paul Boys. We looked at Stefan Milan from Paul Filet. Luke Boyle from Northwood. But in the end, we went with Khotso Lechluana from JP. Again, JP had an exceptional season. He was fantastic in that Aitken final.
And interestingly, I mean, he played under 16.
Yeah.
So I know he played first team for Aitken, but they kept him in the under 16 age group to just keep that momentum going forward and that depth.
Yeah.
So he really, really played some good hockey. And as you said, I mean, there was a very competitive year. Blaine Candy out of Kes being very good. Jason Joyner out of St. Stithians. Ben Wilson out of Hilton. All played really well for the national sides. But in the end, we had to make some tough decisions in that. So Anderson, Letluenia, and Van Zyl, the nominees for the Young Player of the Year. From the girls' side, Bridget, similarly, also a very talented year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think potentially one that I might get a few opinions on, but I still stay strong to it. Alanda Radamere had a ridiculously good season on the school side. And I think she's just a young player that you need to watch. She's going to grow into a stronger striker.
I don't think any arguments from here.
Yeah. I hope not. My second one from KZN, DGC girl, Chelsea Wolf.
Well, not anymore. She's moved across to Rhenish.
Yes,
so,
I forget
she'll
that.
be playing out of Rhenish next year. In fact, she already played out of Rhenish this year.
Yeah,
So
true.
she's moved across.
But a really, really solid player. Someone that's stepped up. I like the way she commands the field.
Seriously good indoor player
Seriously good indoor player. So she'll be an asset to that Boland team. And then the younger Holderness, Lucy Holderness, is someone that I think is really a serious talent. She is a very good carrier of the ball. She had some contenders, but you had Charlie Rose Boyle again. You had Pippa Fleon, who's actually too old for this category.
Yep,
but
too old for this category. Yep.
But I went with Holderness in the end just because of the way she's that young player to watch, and she's going to be someone that's going to really dominate.
So Radamere, Wolf and Holderness making up the nominees for Young Player of the Year for the Hockey on 216 Awards. One of the sort of more fun ones, and we can run through it really quickly and we'll chat a bit more about it next week, but the one thing that we've really loved to see is just the event and the hospitality that's put there for the parents and the fans this year. And those of you know, it's something that I love most about school.
I think you should be the expert on this.
Well,
we can ask you these ones.
We've gone with the sort of best hospitality experience at hockey this year. And the first one, which I think I've been talking about since April, that just blew me away, was St. Stithians. The St. Stithians Hockey Fest hospitality tent. In fact, I think if I was giving the SuperSport schools winner of the year, I'd probably be nominating them. That's how good it was.
And you know what I loved about the Saints one? This is going to sound a bit snooty of me, but there's no VIP tag. There's no,
cover charge.
There's no cover charge. With all the other Easter fests, you have to have a cover charge. Whereas this one, you welcome everyone.
It was just extraordinary. The catering,
cool.
Everything about it was amazing. Another one which we've spoken about a lot and continues to do, Polcham at the Under-16 tournament.
Yeah.
Polcham just know how to host. And we saw it again when we were there for the Pole
Inter-schools,
Derby.
yeah.
Polcham Nasium, the Under-16 tournament, they just do a wonderful job of their hospitality tent. And I guess being in the Winelands, they do have, a little bit of advantages. They know how to host down there in the Winelands.
Made mention as a vegetarian, I'm like, the Boerewors rolls there could turn me. It's that good.
They are that good.
Yeah.
And then Bridget, the last one we go through. It's a sort of a perennial favourite for parents.
Definitely, St. Mary's Fest, St. Mary's Waverley Festival. I mean, I love it. I played there, and I still think it's one of the most spectacular hospitalities, particularly for the parents.
Yes.
But for the youngsters too. I mean, that tent, that vibe. People come through, it's just a really, really
and
good setup.
The intimacy there is just, it feels like almost on the AstroTurf. So,
and also that the parents are the ones that are hosting as such. They're cooking, they're pouring the drinks.
Parents
yes,
put it on.
They really make the scene.
So our best hockey hospitality sort of offering of the year, St. Stithians Easter Festival, the Polcham Under-16 tournament, and the St. Mary's, the Stannerbank St. Mary's Festival are our three nominees there. We've then gone into sort of tournaments that we really enjoyed. And I mean, it's the one thing we do so well in this country, hard to do in the end, and very hard. They're all so different. You spoke about context earlier on, Chris, and when making these choices, we almost had to give context to why we chose them. So maybe in giving us those boys nominees, maybe just give us a little bit of context into why we chose them.
Yeah, so I mean, if we go first up there, we thought that the Hibbert Shield was I think it's fast becoming the sort of boys tournament to be at. We spoke about it earlier in the year that we want to get JP there. Well, I believe they have got an invite.
They've got an invite, and it seems to be that JP will be there next year. So certainly JP, Paul, Roos, Sachs, who all should be back with very strong teams next year, will all be playing at one tournament.
And getting all the top boys teams into one festival, I think, puts Hibbert Shield up there.
Absolutely.
As
great, you will.
The second one, which we've had, a number of great reports out of this year, the SASOC Nationals, which I think was a wonderful event. It seemed that the boys had a great opportunity to showcase their ability, and everyone was well looked after in the KZN Midlands.
Absolutely. Yeah. And lastly, but not least of all, in the nominees for boys?
Yeah, Aitken Bowden. I think it's one of the few school team tournaments around where it's not just the top teams that are catered for. There are a number of different categories. There's some ridiculous number of games. I don't know how many games are actually played. But, you have a C section, a B section, an A section.
I want to say about 180, but I might be wrong. But it is somewhere up there.
When you think of pulling that off in 4 days, is incredible. And
Absolutely.
Kudos to Southern Schools Hockey.
So our boys' festivals of the year, we're going, so it's Hibbert Shield, Sassock Nationals, and Aitken and Bowden. Bridget, moving into the girls?
So one that I really like and I think does get it right, even though the rankings might be slightly tweaked, is the top 12 that Oranje host. And it's been going for so long. And I think it does get the top teams in the country. It might not be all 12 right, but it's definitely the most competitive and full-time games, really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then obviously we went with Sassock Nationals again for girls.
Nationals.
Because again, it was just so well run. And your last of the 3 nominations?
The last one for me is the SPA KZN tournament. I just think it's impeccable. The magnitude of it, the logistics of it, how they execute it with all the regions.
Sort of run over a 3-4 month period and culminates in an incredible final event that on its own would almost
and it's the same thing.
And the exposure.
The exposure to the teams that wouldn't necessarily get the exposure or the ability to play at certain tournaments. So those are my 3.
It's Oranje top 12, the SPA Girls KZN tournament and the Sassock Nationals and the girls. As we come sort of to the back end of the nominations, Crinison Boys Coach of the Year. We had to look at various things.
These are the big disclaimers we need to put in. We don't want to lose friends here, Calvin.
Absolutely. Well, I've got no coaches here.
No, but I think also, again, coaches of teams that have done incredibly well. It's not always just about the team doing well, but these are guys who have perfected their craft over time and have done the hard yards to get to where they are. So first for me is Sia Setanya from Jeppe. Did very well with the Jeppe team. Unbeaten and did well at the national tournament. They won the under-16 tournament with Southerns and coached the national under-16 B side. So, did really well. Sam Holmes from Sax. What a season they've had.
The record just stands for itself, doesn't it?
And they had some games when they were under the pump, and I appreciated the fact that they came from 2-0 down to beat Porus. It just shows a level of maturity there, which is good.
He had all the ingredients, but he knew how to put it together.
And the third one, we had a number of different nominations, Michael Baker, Jacques Robler, but for me, a program that's on the up. Nick Berishon has done incredible work at Michaelhouse. They've been competitive this season. I think Nick's technical ability is way up there, technically and tactically. He built the Gasfontein program and has now taken Michaelhouse to a different level.
So Sia Setanya, Sam Holmes, Nick Berishon, our 3 nominees for Boys Team Coach of the Year.
Yes.
The Girls Team Coach of the Year, Bridget?
So many candidates here for me. I have eventually gone with 3, but some that I just want to mention that have done phenomenally is, Darren Gallagher at the Epworth program. He's really had a good season. He's taken that and elevated the whole program out of Epworth. Monet Urendal at Snam, same sort of concept, really stepped it up. Jenny King out of Bloemhof. It's actually...
A perennial favourite. She's been around forever, but
exactly.
She's a great coach.
And also, they have almost been in every single semi-final and every single festival, Bloemhof. You underestimate what a great season they've had. Nicolene Blanche, Affie's Macy's, same thing.
They've really had a good season.
Ridiculously good season if you watch the escalation that they've had.
Absolutely.
So a big favourite. But my final 3 that I've gone with, just because of what the team's done and their season, has been Danelle van Zyl out of Palchem. First year coaching the first team. She's been in the program.
Great job.
Really great job. Chris Gaber out of Renich, unbeaten except for shootouts. He also went on to win nationals with the Berlin team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Jerwin Gemiet from DSG. I just think they haven't played a lot of festivals, but their season has been impeccable.
And also at IPT was good. So it's Van Zyl, Chris Gerber and Jewin Khamit are our nominees for Girls Team Coaches of the Year. Obviously, that sort of left us with the last category. And at the end, if you go through sort of what happened in the year, where all these players, where all these coaches from, it was really easy for us, I guess, in the end. Boys Team of the Year, the 3 nominees are Vincent,
Sachs,
easy.
Cheppy.
Easy.
And the last one, I mean, I think the one team that I think was, Paul Jim came into the reckoning year as well.
Yeah.
But for me, just in terms of the program and the all-rounded ability of the team, Paul Russ have to be the third.
Absolutely. And I think Paul Jim, probably the reason that the coach and the team didn't make it into those finals is literally that last weekend loss against Paul Boys. Probably edged them out in the end.
Tough one.
Tough one.
Tough
Bridget,
pill to
Girls
swallow.
Team of the Year, similarly, not too difficult for us. Probably 4 or 5 teams that stuck up their hands. But our nominees.
So, well, I'm going to go with the ones that didn't make it, but only reasoning. Blumhoff, what I mentioned, incredible season. They made the finals of top 12. They had made a whole lot of semi-finals, St. Mary's, all the way through. So consistently been incredibly good. Our Lady of Fatima, also great season, underrated, have come through the program so well. Collegiate, same thing, doing
Good
really
year,
well.
really good
Affies, really good year. But my top 3 at the end was Greenwich. They are unbeaten except for shootouts. Really good season. Paul Jim winning top 12. They've upped and downed, but they finished top of the pops.
Finished really strongly.
And then DSG. I think just
Makanda.
out of Makanda, as a small team when you think about it, and they've just stepped up.
But just a wonderful year. So,
Yeah.
so those Girls Team of the Year nominations, Renish, Polcham and DSG. As we said, the boys, Sachs, Cheppy Boys and Polrus Gymnasium. Watch Hockey on 216 next week, the first week of September, when we announce the winners of the very first Hockey on 216 Driven by Hyundai Awards of 2025. Thank you for joining us, Bridget Crinson. Great chatting to you. We really look forward to a final week of deciding who these winners are and the final week of hockey for the year. We'd love some comments from our viewers on our social and digital media channels, and we'll be back next week.